All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get her going here. Start me off. Where to bid to go? Have it like $1,000. Open it up.
What is real estate flipping? Welcome back. Beginners, you need to be cautious. Sometimes ordinary individuals, they want to purchase homes, they're eyesores, and then they want to turn them into special properties and make a lot of money. Well, that's what flipping is all about. They want to buy a property that needs some work, they see the value, and they think they can fix it up and get rid of it, or sometimes they don't even fix it up. So we're going to talk about flipping real estate properties. So today's episode is, what is real estate flipping? So the intention is really honorable, but it's not so easy as everybody thinks it is. So how do people learn how to do this? Well, a lot of them are watching television, and they're discussing and watching how these properties are being renovated, and there's tons of people there fixing roofs, laying down concrete, knocking down walls, breaking up fireplaces. Lots of things are going on. They're trying to make a mediocre house into a mansion. Well, house flipping is a lot more difficult than it appears. Keep in mind, they do all that in 28 to 30 minutes, and it's all done, and they made a lot of money, and they got a pretty girl and whatever. Well, it's not as easy as that. Buying and selling and reselling is a process, and it takes a little while. So be a little cautious. Don't jump into it too quickly. Real estate is definitely a good long-term investment. It's an asset class, and so it really works, and in many cases, it's going to generate a lot of cash. But if you want to flip properties, that's a whole different story, because you don't know what you don't know. Now, what does that mean? That means, do you have some skills in finance? Do you have skills of budgeting? Do you understand how to handle the contingencies when you get in there and there's problems? Well, you need to give that a lot of thought. Certainly, I'll be able to show you today how to get properties at a bargain price. However, you need to start understanding how you're going to check out the condition of the structure of the property. That's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. So I don't know who's watching this video, but I want to give you a word of caution. It appears easy on television, and it is easy for those old timers that have made a lot of mistakes. But I don't know that every contractor you're going to call is going to do a good job. And what happens if they don't do a good job? Well, your responsibility when you buy it is you have your money invested, you're going to want to resell it. So what we're talking about today is real estate flipping. It's not as easy as it appears. Now, I'd recommend that if you're a newcomer and you want to do some flipping, that you have plenty of capital and you're prepared to handle some pretty big challenges, because when you start changing those properties, that's something. Now, if you could buy it today and sell it tomorrow and not do anything with it, that's another whole ballgame. So in this episode, I'm going to reveal some of the solutions that'll help you, but they're mostly financial solutions. I can't help you with the fixing up of property and whatever. So my name is Ted Thomas. I've been involved in tax defaulted property for 30 years. All right, so my perspective is going to come from buying properties at tax defaulted auction and buying them for pennies on the dollar. All right, now I'm an investor, I'm a guide, and I've helped people out with this business. All right, you don't need a license to do this, but you certainly are going to need some financial savvy and need to understand that when you're watching those fixer-upper shows, you're watching an entertainment media, not an educational media. Let me say that again. They're entertaining you, and that looks easy, and it's not going to be quite as easy as you think it is. So it's a minefield that can explode at any time. By that I mean, if you get bad roofs, if you get bad foundations, or you have termite problems or whatever, there could be some pretty big significant costs in flipping real estate. So I'm not negative, but I don't want to sugarcoat the thing. All right, so I come from the foreclosure business. We bought tax defaulted property now, but in the past I bought many foreclosures, and in many cases I fixed them up. I'm going to tell you right now, putting lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. So some of these properties are going to be tough to sell unless you know exactly what you're doing. So let me give you some solutions as I go along here. All of this is going to take a certain amount of energy. It's going to take a certain amount of learning, and you've got to make sure that you have adequate reserves. They don't talk about that when they're doing the television program. They're calling in all these vendors. They're fixing it. Everybody's smiling. There's a pretty girl talking to the people that are going to buy the property and whatever. Okay, that's television. It's entertainment. I'm not in that business. I'm talking about flipping real estate. This is serious. It's real serious. All right, so I'm not negative, but I'm really realistic, because a major part of this is where you're going to buy the property. If you're buying those properties retail, you've got a challenge on your hands, I can tell you that. Now, my perspective comes from the tax lien and tax deed business, okay? Those are defaulted real estate. What does that mean? That means a property owner failed to pay the property tax. If they haven't paid it, then there's going to be a consequence. And the consequence is this, all right? The property has been defaulted. That means that the property owner is giving up on the property and they're forfeiting the property to the county. All right, so the legislature of the state makes the rules. They tell every county, you must follow our rules, and they do. And that means they levy taxes. If the people don't pay the taxes, they confiscate those properties. That means the people forfeit them. All right, so now they've confiscated the property and they want to get rid of it. They don't want the property. When they get rid of it, they're going to sell those properties at bargain prices. All right, so this is a big difference than buying in the retail market. So property owners that fail to pay property taxes, they've forfeited the property. Now the county has taken over those properties. What is the county going to do with those? Well, the legislature has already told the supervisors, the board of supervisors, and the county commissioners that they've got to levy taxes, and once the tax is levied, then they're going to have to do something about it. That means collect the tax. If they can't collect the tax, they do nothing but confiscate the property, and then they're going to resell it. Now, when I talk about reselling it, the treasurer is going to resell that property. Starting bid is going to be the back taxes. All right, so they might start the bid at just the back taxes, less than 10 cents or 20 cents on the dollar. Now, if you can buy for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, how many of those properties would you want to buy? I mean, think about that. You could buy those properties and resell them. How would you resell them? Well, you could sell them by using Craigslist, or you could sell them by using signs, or you could sell them using multiple listing. You're getting the idea of what I'm talking about. So this means if you're trying to buy properties at 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. Now, if you have properties at that kind of inventory, now you can become a flipper, or you could sell to flippers, or you could sell to people that want to fix those properties, and you could make a price difference. In other words, margin. So you could buy it low and you could sell it low to a fixer or a flipper or a renovator that wanted to take that mediocre house and go ahead and make a mansion out of it. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. All right, so these are opportunities to buy for pennies on the dollar. Where do you get these properties? 3,000 counties, more than 3,000 counties in the United States, all auction tax defaulted property. Now, how do they do that? Well, they seize the property, they're going to sell it for the back taxes, they're going to conduct those as auctions. So there's tax defaulted auctions at least 5,000 times a year in the 3,000 different counties. Some of the counties will have 2 or 3 of those auctions. I'm talking about a business that's over 200 years old. Over 200 years old. They're going to have these auctions annually. Some of them will have more than that. All right, now the buyer that buys these properties at the auction now buys a property with no mortgage or deed of trust. The treasurer and the tax collector, they wipe out, they cancel out the mortgage and the deed of trust. So now you're buying a property without a mortgage or deed of trust, sometimes for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. So you're buying it low. The whole objective here is to sell it at a price that's under the market price. If you can do that, well, now you're off and running because you've got margin to work with. So ask yourself, if you can buy slightly used and abused properties for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, could you put a sign in the front lawn? Could you use eBay? Could you use Craigslist? Could you use Facebook Marketplace and sell for 50 or 60 cents? So if you bought it for 10 or 20, sell it for 50 or 60 cents, and guess what? there'd be lots of fixer-upper people, flippers, and of course those renovators that would want to buy from you, plus all the people that have bad credit score, they'd want to buy from you too. All right, so if that would work for you, now we're talking business. All right, and the county needs money, so they're going to sell these properties. But what about you? You need profits to take care of your family. So this could be a business that could take care of you in the future. Now, throughout these videos, I'm going to show you some interesting examples as I go along of people that did just that. They bought it low, they sold it low, they made a nice profit, then they moved on and did it again. There'll be plenty of properties, over 2.5 million tax defaulted auction every year. So let's give you an example of a Wisconsin couple. Shortly after they graduated the training program, they bought a property in Michigan. All right, now they had to travel in their car over to Michigan to do that. They could have done it online, but they wanted to go and see the property, which is what I recommend. So the assessed value of the property was $55,000. So the Wisconsin couple went to the auction. There was bidding going on at the auction. They paid only $8,000, and they were the high bidder. That means the county treasurer and the tax collector are going to give them a deed to that property for less than 20 cents on the dollar. Simultaneously, the treasurer eliminated any mortgage or deed of trust loan. So now they bought a property that had a value of $55,000. They bought it for $8,000. All right, many of these properties are sold at auction 60, 70, 80% below the tax assessed value. So the couple from Wisconsin, they just followed my system. What did they do? They bought it low. Now they're going to advertise and they're going to sell it low. So they're not going to fix the property up, but they did clean it up. They did remove a few things in the property. So that cost them a little bit of money. So they invested another $4,000. All right, so they had $8,000 they invested. Now they put $4,000 in cleanup. They're all in at $12,000. All right, now most people underestimate the marketing. All right, the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make is they don't do a good job of marketing. That simple blunder is what makes the difference between being very successful and having a failure. So what's the solution to that? Well, you want to know who the buyer is. All right, you're not going to sell a $50,000 property to an executive of a big company. You're going to sell that property to someone that's getting started or someone that's had some mistakes. Unfortunately, most sellers are not aggressive and they don't do a lot about the marketing. So what do you need to do? So let's cover that and make sure we cover it. First of all, you want to use eBay. You want to use Craigslist. You want to use the multiple listing service. I know I'm talking about a lot. Okay, you want to use Facebook. You want to use Zillow. You want to use as many sources as possible. Every electronic site you can find, you want to advertise that property and put signs on the property and around the neighborhood. Uglier the sign, the better it is. All right, the purpose is the marketing is going to make a big difference in if you're going to sell that property. Newspapers still work. The real estate clubs, you can let them know you got properties for sale. The selling process is what's going to make you succeed. All right, what did this couple do? So they had a property, they made sure it was advertised, and they sold it quickly using Facebook Marketplace. And they sold it for $35,000, where you might recall they had only paid $12,000 for the property. They were all in at $12,000. So they made themselves a $23,000 profit. What's wrong with a $23,000 profit? So you can see they could make money right away. All right, now this episode we're discussing today is what is real estate flipping. This couple sold the property in less than 30 days. That's almost as good as flipping because they got rid of it quickly and they made themselves a nice profit. All right, now I'm going to close this up, but I want to tell you I've tested dozens of strategies, different tactics, different techniques. I've sorted through dozens of property. This is what works best to make big paydays. You buy the property at a low price and then you resell it quickly using the marketing that we're talking about. This system works because it's been tested and perfected in the trenches with real deals when big money was on the line. This is something that every one of you can do. So let's take a look at the Ted Thomas interactive map. It's very simple and you can see it being displayed right now. All right, now you just move the cursor over the state. All right, as soon as you're over the state, it will tell you how many auctions are taking place in that state in the next 90 days. So now you know how many auctions. Now you just click the mouse and then it'll start taking you what you really want is you want to know the details of different auctions. It will take you to all the details. Also, if you're going to buy tax defaulted property, you must go to the property and look at it before you buy. Don't buy a property that you haven't had boots on the ground. Same story with exit strategy. If you go to the property, it's going to give you a chance to look around. When you look around, you'll know and you'll be able to evaluate what you're willing to pay, and you'll be able to evaluate those neighborhoods. My name is Ted Thomas. Go right below me and get yourself an auction list. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.